You're here, ready to get smart fast.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we're about at the Deep Dive. We basically take the material you might be exploring and pull out the crucial insights, the stuff that can really make a difference.
Right.
Today, we're zeroing in on something pretty fundamental for anyone in business, or even just thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Crafting, like really effective offers.
Mm-hmm.
We've got excerpts from a book by an entrepreneur who's, well, they've been in the trenches, definitely seen some things, and came out with this powerful framework for success.
Right. Yeah, you shared some fascinating sections from this book. The author really distills their experiences, their learnings into these, well, actionable principles.
Yeah.
So our mission today, I guess, is to unpack those principles around what makes a business offer genuinely compelling, the kind that can really drive growth.
And give people some useful way of thinking about it, immediately useful stuff.
Exactly. Ways to think about this crucial part of business.
Okay, so where do we start? The author kicks off with this pretty memorable concept, the Grand Slam offer.
Yeah, that jumps right out.
And it's inspired, apparently, by Jeff Bezos' thinking about risk. That idea that a small chance, maybe 10% of a massive payoff, like 100x, is always worth taking.
Right, the asymmetric bet. It speaks to that long-tail distribution of returns you see in business sometimes, where one huge win can just overshadow everything else.
Yeah, totally. And they use this baseball metaphor, which I think helps make it concrete.
What's interesting there is how they contrast it. We all get the value of, consistent effort, those singles and doubles that keep things moving.
Sure, the day-to-day.
But the Grand Slam offer is framed as that rare game-changing hit, the one with potential for a 1,000-fold payoff, as they put it.
It's not just a bit better, it's transformative.
Exactly. And here's a really key point the author makes. Hitting this kind of home run with your offer, well, it isn't necessarily about working harder than you would on some mediocre, forgettable offer.
Oh, interesting. So there's not just more hours.
No, it's about the skill involved. Like a batter needing serious skill to connect with a major league fastball, right?
Okay.
It's about understanding your audience so deeply, so precisely, and aligning what you offer with what they truly desperately want.
So all those pieces in your marketing, your customer acquisition, they all have to just click perfectly into place.
Bingo. And to really drive that point home, the author shares a pretty compelling stat from their own experience. A 36-to-1 lifetime return on advertising dollars over 8 years.
Wow, 36-to-1. That's not luck. That kind of sustained ROI, it suggests a really deep understanding of how to create offers that just work consistently.
It really does. What do you think underpins that? It can't just be good ad copy.
No, it speaks volumes about the offer itself, right? That suggests they weren't just, throwing money at ads hoping something would stick. They must have had something genuinely valuable, genuinely desirable that resonated deeply. Which kind of leads us right to the core goal of the book, according to the author. It's about equipping entrepreneurs with the skills to build these Grand Slam offers.
Right, the how-to.
Yeah, and ultimately achieve, significant financial freedom, what they very bluntly call fuck you money. It's about creating that level of wealth that gives you real autonomy, real choices.
It definitely reframes how you think about just making an offer, doesn't it? It's not just about closing a sale today.
Yeah.
It's about engineering a fundamental shift in your business's potential.
Yeah.
Its potential to generate wealth, independence.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And to really hammer home the power of a truly great offer, the author shares this incredibly vivid origin story. It takes us back to a specific moment, Christmas Eve 2016.
Okay.
And it's not exactly a festive scene. Picture this. Crammed into your kid's playroom, which is now your makeshift office. Floor is sticky, smells like stale popcorn.
Sounds grim.
Yeah, from like a rare trip to the movies where they couldn't even focus. But it gets worse. Just before this. Lost their life savings in a bad partnership. Mother critically injured in an accident. Totaled their car. Just this perfect storm of personal and professional disaster. Feeling like they had absolutely nothing left.
Wow. That's hitting rock bottom. It's one thing to face one setback, but all of that converging, that's crushing.
Totally. And then the final blow, $120,000 in expected payments from recent sales. Suddenly held up. Just gone for now. Leaving them with, get this, $1,036 in the bank.
$1,000 after expecting $120K.
Yeah, and after paying a salesman commission for those very deals that just evaporated.
Man, that's brutal.
But here's the pivot, the turning point.
Yeah.
Despite all this complete nightmare, the author had this core belief, this deep conviction in the power of a grand slam offer.
Even then.
Even then, armed with that conviction and a maxed out business credit card, $100,000 limit, they made this incredibly audacious move.
What did they do?
Launched 6 gyms simultaneously.
Right after Christmas.
Risking a staggering $3,300 every single day. Money they absolutely did not have.
6 gyms with $1,000 in the bank and maxed out credit. That's insane levels of risk. What does that tell you about their belief in the offer itself?
It screams confidence, right? Maybe bordering on desperation, sure, but also this deep-seated belief that they had something the market had to respond to.
Yeah, you wouldn't do that lightly. Launching at that scale, under that pressure, they weren't just hoping. They must have had a strong expectation of getting customers fast.
And the bet paid off, big time. Within the first month, those 6 gyms generated over $100,000 in revenue.
Wow. Just enough to cover those crazy expenses.
Exactly. Pulled back from the absolute brink, and then explosive growth, hitting $1.5 million in monthly revenue within a year.
That's an almost unbelievable turnaround from potential bankruptcy to $1.5 million a month in a year.
Wild, isn't it? And looking bigger picture, this story just perfectly underscores how a well-crafted offer can be a true catalyst. It wasn't just survival. It was like hitting warp speed.
And the journey didn't stop there, right? The author went on to hit even bigger milestones.
Oh, yeah. $4.4 million a month later. $120 million in total sales eventually. Even getting involved in philanthropy, befriending Arnold Schwarzenegger, apparently.
Okay, so it really highlights this almost limitless potential that can be unlocked if you master this core business skill.
It's an incredible story. And the author's takeaway is just crystal clear.
Yeah.
The skill of making that grand slam offer was what saved them. It wasn't luck. It was the offer.
Which brings us nicely to the fundamental principle behind all this. The author credits someone named Travis Jones for this piece of advice early on.
Right. What was it?
Simple but profound. Make people an offer so good they would feel stupid saying no.
Huh. I love that. It's so direct and deceptively simple, isn't it?
Totally. The author explains how that one sentence just flipped their whole understanding of sales.
How so?
It shifted the focus. It wasn't about being some slick closer or using, Jedi mind tricks. It was about creating something so inherently valuable, so appealing that the prospect looks at it and thinks, wow, I'd be an idiot to pass this up. It puts the emphasis squarely on the value you deliver. And that raises such a crucial point for you, the listener, especially if you're out there trying to build a business.
Yeah.
You probably started with passion, right? For your product, your service, but then reality hits and you realize passion alone doesn't pay the bills.
Mm-hmm. Too true.
This principle, this offer so good idea, highlights that essential bridge, the bridge between what you have and getting a customer to actually hand over their money for it.
Exactly. And the author breaks down what an offer actually is, the whole package, right?
Yeah. The goods or services, yes, but also the price, the payment terms, guarantees, bonuses, the whole agreement.
It's the foundational unit of business, the lifeblood, as they call it.
Yeah.
How does just thinking about that basic definition help?
Well, by breaking it down, you can analyze each piece, see how it adds to or maybe subtracts from the overall value, the attractiveness. It's not just the core thing you sell, it's the entire proposition. And the author paints this really clear picture. A bad offer, you lose money. Decent offer, break even maybe. Good offer, some profit. But the grand slam offer? That's where you get fantastic profit, real freedom. It's about knowing how to move beyond just good enough.
So, thinking about the typical struggles entrepreneurs face, what core problems does this Grand Slam offer framework supposedly solve?
The author pinpoints 2 main ones, which probably sound familiar to a lot of people: not getting enough clients and not making enough cash. Basically, not enough customers, not enough profit.
The classic squeeze.
And what's insightful is how they connect those two. In a crowded market, what's the default move? Lower your price.
Right.
Try to compete that way.
Yeah, the race to the bottom.
Exactly. Which just squeezes everyone's margins. So even if you get more clients, you might actually be less profitable, less able to grow.
Okay, but the Grand Slam offer is pitched as the antidote to that.
Precisely. It's specifically engineered for maximum profit, not just scraping by.
Right.
The idea is to pack in so much perceived value that price becomes, well, almost secondary for your ideal customer.
They're focused on the gain, the outcome, the value stack, not just the price tag.
You got it. They're thinking about what they get, not just what they pay.
So let's bring it back to the listener. What's the tangible benefit here? Why should someone invest time in understanding this?
Well, the author puts it pretty bluntly. By learning from their embarrassing, brutal, multi-million-dollar fuck-ups, as they say, you can potentially sidestep a lot of that pain, accelerate your own journey. It's about learning from experience, even if it's someone else's expensive experience.
Right, shortcutting the learning curve. And they also make this point that even implementing one component of a Grand Slam offer, just one piece, could lead to a noticeable bump in clients and revenue.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be all or nothing immediately.
And they actually contend that spending time learning about offer creation, it delivers the single best return on time for anyone running a business. That's a bold claim.
It is, but it makes sense if you think about the offer as the engine of customer acquisition and profit. Fine-tuning that engine has a huge impact.
It's also kind of encouraging that they suggest implementing a new offer doesn't necessarily mean, like, tearing down your whole business and starting over.
Right. It can start with strategically refining what you're already doing, making smart, targeted changes to how you present your value.
Okay, now let's talk about the author's own motivations for sharing all this, often for free or just at cost. What's the angle there?
Well, their stated aim is pretty clear. Help as many entrepreneurs as possible, build trust along the way. They specifically mention two groups they want to serve.
These are.
First, businesses doing under $3 million a year. The goal is to help them break through that barrier. And second, those already doing $3 million to $10 million a year.
And for that second group?
There, the aim seems to be potential investment and helping them scale even further. It's an interesting model.
So by giving away valuable info upfront,
They essentially create this funnel, this pipeline of businesses that are successfully using their frameworks, who might then become investment opportunities for their firm.
okay, it's a win-win. Their success is tied to the success of the people they teach.
Exactly. It aligns incentives quite neatly.
And to back up the effectiveness of these methods, the author points to their own track record since 2017. Every business they've started since then has hit a $1.5 million monthly revenue run rate.
Yeah, monthly. Which, when you think about the stats on how few businesses ever reach even $10 million annually, let alone consistently across multiple ventures.
It makes it highly unlikely it's just luck. It really suggests a repeatable, powerful system is at play.
Definitely. It highlights the value of having these robust frameworks you can apply again and again. And you get the sense the author's drive, their desire to share this, really comes from remembering their own struggles.
Yeah, that Christmas Eve story.
Exactly. It seems to create this genuine motivation to help others find that security, that peace of mind they lacked back then.
Makes sense. Finally, they sort of lay out the roadmap for the rest of the book, getting into the details of pricing, value stacking, making offers truly irresistible, practical steps.
Yeah, it sets the stage nicely for potentially diving deeper into those specific tactics in maybe future sessions.
Absolutely. So as we kind of start to wrap up this first look, the big takeaway really seems to be that just the profound impact of crafting an offer that's so good.
That people feel they'd genuinely be missing out, like they'd be foolish to say no.
And crucially, remembering what the author stresses.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't some secret trick. It's not about getting lucky. It's a skill.
A learnable skill, a muscle you can build by really understanding your audience and strategically designing every single part of your offer.
And the potential rewards, both the business and, that personal freedom the author talks about, they seem substantial. Their own story is pretty vivid proof of that.
Which leads us maybe to a final thought, something for you, the listener, to chew on.
Okay.
Take a minute. Look at your current offers, whether it's in your business or maybe even somewhere else in life where you're trying to persuade someone. What's one adjustment, maybe even a small one, you could make right now?
Just one change.
Yeah, one change to move it closer to being that kind of grand slam offer. What single tweak would make your proposition noticeably more compelling, harder to resist?
That is a powerful question to sit with. Definitely food for thought.
Right.
If you are keen to dig deeper into all this, the author mentions a lot of free resources over at acquisition.com.
Worth checking out.
For sure. And of course, we'll be back for future deep dives, maybe getting into those specifics on pricing, value, and really enhancing offers.
That's good.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for diving in with us today.